Okay, I've decided to bite the bullet. I'm going to replace the headlight. And because all the electrics on this motorbike go through the headlight, I'm going to have to dismantle it all and work out how I'm going to rework the electrics. All this before I actually finalise the frame and get it sent off for powder coating. The headlight itself is pretty good, but the bucket it's in is pretty big and ugly, and it just doesn't suit the look I'm going for. That means I'm going to pretty much have to rework a lot of the electrics and move things around. Now that will probably mean I'll need some extra tabs here and there, so I really want to get the frame finalised before I send that away. So let me show you what's going on with the electrics. So here's the harness and the headlight bucket. All this stuff goes in the headlight. You've got ignition switch, which on the RT was on the dash, I believe, originally, but I've since retrofitted this to the traditional position, sticking out the headlight through the mount hole here. That was the traditional position for all non-fairing BMWs. So it's got that, it's got the flasher unit, which is this guy. It's got the relay for the headlight, it's got the headlight connector, and it's got this big connection board, which is just a connection point for all the wiring, so you can remove harnesses independently. But it's also got two fuses in there, and there's also a diode in the back here. It's certainly a pain for me because I've got to pull all this stuff out and without destroying the bucket. I've got to detach all those wires, feed them through somehow through these little holes and reconnect them all back up again. Luckily the BMW is smart enough to have this board's all color coded. It's relatively easy. You know where all the wires go by the wiring colors. Now of course, removing this bucket and just going to a regular headlight leaves me with the problem of what to do with this guy here. It's got two fuses in it. There's only two fuses on this whole bike, surprisingly enough. Now it probably should have a bit of weather protection, particularly probably for the fuses. So I'm going to try and put this in some kind of a electrical box. So after a bit of an investigation, I have found out that this bike had an optional hazard warning flasher circuit on it, which involves this relay and switch and harness. This cafe racer certainly doesn't need that, so I'm going to rip that out to simplify the electrics. This is what I'm trying to remove. It's this part of this harness goes to the flasher hazard button, and this is the relay associated with that. And this is the wiring harness coming through here. It's these two green cables have an inline diode, another inline diode, and according to my reckoning I need to disconnect this, and that goes to the board, and I need to effectively put that in there, replacing these two green and violet cables. And the way you remove these is you poke a screwdriver in here, push down fairly hard, and then pull out the back. That releases that spade connector. So this guy needs to go in there. Just need to remove this outer Here the same type of clip, so that should just push right in there. Beautiful. Now with this green and yellow, got a green and yellow coming in here, and there's one green and yellow going off via this connector. Into here, which is the left hand handlebar switch. Now that has to stay, but this guy is connected hardwired into that spade, so it's got to be snipped. So first snip, and I'll just cut that close as possible. Right. Now I think that's all the snips, cuts I need to do. So let's go through and do the other disconnections. We'll start at the top, blue and red off the board. Blue and red down there, and man, it is so hard to get these out with your fingers. You need first one. So this is the entirety of the hazard flasher light system. Now, it wasn't too hard to get out. I poked these through one at a time through the hole, and she's all come out. So that can be ditched completely. I also went ahead and have removed the left side switch harness, and I've been noting down where everything goes, and I'll do that to the rest of this, so I can start looking at how I'm going to mount that and where I'm going to mount that, and how it's going to fit. I have got this enclosure. This does fit in here reasonably well. Okay, so I've got this all apart now. There's the two switch harnesses, handlebar switch harnesses, ignition switch. This is the headlight relay and connector, and this is the flasher unit. So I've got this board completely removed now. Only thing left to do is to pull out the main harness from the headlight bucket. It's really a matter of one at a time. Through here. Sure about these headlight buckets, but I do know that the original headlights are quite valuable, and you can sell them pretty easily for some decent money. Okay, I'm just doing a rough fit up of the wiring harness to make sure I've got a plan that works. I've connected up the box to the main harness only. I've left the handlebar switch harnesses out of this. So I'm going to put this here. This is where the voltage regulator normally goes. but there's more room on this side than the other side. I'm going to put this regulator on the other side. There's still enough room for that. So because I've got this extra length of harness, I'm looping this back up. It's going to run along the top tube more neatly than what I've got there, and around the back here. So the harness comes over the frame here. There's plenty of space here. I will cut that bracket off there. That bracket holds on the two relays. One I've ditched. That's the hazard flasher relay. So I'm left with this starter relay. But I'm going to put the voltage regulator here. I'll put a bracket hard up against there, and I'll leave enough room to bolt this guy up as well. And the harness will go in behind where that bracket is now, come out here, go along as shown over to the back. Now I've just got the left hand handlebar switch harness in place just to confirm. If I run that down through there, that will go into that box. There's plenty of length there to do that. So the other run is on the right hand side is slightly shorter, so that'll work. This electronic ignition control unit only mounts up here like this. It's on this manifold for the front brakes, which we're no longer using. I've got them piped up directly. That sits up here, so I'm going to make a simpler bracket to mount that to allow enough room to do this bend here. Apparently this thing gets quite hot. It needs to have some grease on there for heat transfer to this sink. From there down can be anything, so I'm going to make up my own bracket. So now that the plan for the electrics is finally sorted, it's time to get the angle grinder out again and get the mods to the frame finally finished.